Good morning. Glad you're here. This is a day that has been about 2 years in the works, and so we're so thankful to finally be here. I want to introduce you to my friend Rob. So this is Rob Burns. He's from Wales, and so you're going to get a chance to hear a lot from him today, and he's going to be speaking in our worship service as well. But wanted to give you an opportunity to hear, maybe in a little more intimate setting, some of the things that are going on with Missional Links in Wales, with our partnership, and also just to get to know Rob. So let me start off with just a word of prayer, and we'll probably have some more that trickle in as we come. That's great. They can join us as they kind of trickle in. But let's pray together, and then we'll get started, all right? Father, I thank you so much for the chance to partner for the gospel. Lord, I thank you for the work that you're doing all around the world, the work that you're doing here in Arkadelphia. God, we simply want to partner with where you are. And so, Lord, we just thank you for your graciousness and your goodness that calls us into relationship with you. Lord, we pray for just this time that it would bring glory to your name. God, that you would use it to maybe inspire each of us toward mission, toward the calling you have for our lives, but also the calling that you have for our church. So Lord, we ask for your grace, and we just pray that you would use this moment. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Well, I want to give Rob plenty of time to talk. You get to hear from me a lot, but you don't get to hear from him. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, Rob, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us your story, your testimony, and I'll be quiet, and you just kind of take it.
So I grew up in the house of an academic, a professor at Birmingham University. And I'm of the age, of course, I'm 58, at the age where you could still spank your kids, you know. But my father was such an orator. He hadn't used to spank us. He'd talk to you about what you've done. You want to spank yourself. This was his ability, this oratory ability, you know. So that kind of household, lots of learning, not much practical, I'm afraid. I couldn't build a sandwich. I mean, Craig's having to make sandwiches for me. I'm not a practical person. So he wanted me to be a lawyer. I showed promise at school, you know. He wanted me to be a lawyer. He taught business law. I wanted to be a soccer player. So you imagine lots of arguments, lots of debate. I won to begin with. So I signed as a professional soccer player at age 16. I left school, began to play as a pro. I was there till I was 19, and then moved into the National League. I picked up a degree. My father saying, finally, you're going to be a lawyer. I did a sports degree. Until the day he died, he called it a degree in jogging, which like I had a problem with, you know. You can see I love my dad very much. And so I got the degree, but then I had an offer from Houston Dynamos to come and play soccer in the USA. And by then, I was a Christian. A young lady had painstakingly spent time with me, drinking coffee at college, hearing all of my peculiar ways of thinking, and just kept answering me with the Bible, you know. And she was such a fine, fine person. I listened to her until finally, on May 18th, 1987, while at college, I became a Christian, and I've never looked back. 2 years later, I found myself in Houston playing soccer for a living. I signed a 1-year contract. I stayed 10 years coaching and playing and sharing the Christian message through the game of soccer. We had 6,000 kids in our program. More than 1,200 received the Lord over time. It was great to see. Then, with this accent, went to Southwestern Seminary, Baptist Theological Seminary, got a Master's in Divinity, and you're looking at the only ordained Southern Baptist minister that you know. You're welcome. Then sent as a missionary with a Master's in Divinity and an ordained Baptist, an ordination, sent by the IMB to Wales as a missionary. And then the rest is history.
So I'm sure you've got some... Back on. So we got some questions just about how our partnership came to be, but I want to know a little bit about Missional Link. So this is the ministry that you founded,
yep.
And it serves as a kind of a triadic partnership. So you kind of help to partner churches in Wales with churches in America.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about how that formed and kind of where it's at now.
Okay, so we're going to show you a video because it just speaks 1,000 words, can say it quicker than me. So this video is when Missional Links Wales began. So it just shares for about a couple of minutes or so just how it formed and how God put it together. So you might want to have a look. Welcome to the Missional Links website. My name is Rob Burns, and I'm the founder of this ministry. Volume. Some might say that you never ask for your life. It's dealt to you. But for 25 years of my life, I've been associated in one way or another with the USA, either living there or working through American churches. And for 15 years of my life, I've been living here in Wales as a missionary, but also as a church leader. An American church pastor came to me, a good friend, and said, why would it be that you have so much experience working with American churches, even living there, and so much experience working with Welsh churches? Could it be that God might want you to partner the two together to form ministry across Wales? Well, almost at the same time, Elfyd Godwin, the director of Evangelical Alliance Wales, with which I'm associated, asked the same question. So I put the two together, and they began to talk about what that would look like. And what formed out of that was Missional Links Wales. What we're trying to do is to partner Welsh churches and American churches in long-term relationships across the counties of Wales so that the whole nation might be impacted in a positive way. The Bible says this: Paul and his companions travelled throughout the region of Phrygia and Galatia, having been kept by the Holy Spirit from preaching the word in the province of Asia. When they came to the border of Mysia, they tried to enter Bithynia, but the Spirit of Jesus would not allow them to. So they passed by Mysia and went down to Troas. During the night, Paul had a vision of a man out from Macedonia, standing and begging him, "Come over to Macedonia and help us." After Paul had seen the vision, we got ready at once to leave for Macedonia, concluding that God had called us to preach the gospel to them. And as I read that, and as I have read it over the last few years, it seems like what I'm to do is to go to American churches, many of them my friends, over a 25-year period, and say to them, we know that Wales is in a situation where it could do with some help. We know that Wales isn't any more special than any other country. But I stand as a man from Macedonia, and we know this was in a vision, he wasn't even a real man. There's nothing special about me. But we stand as a man from Macedonia and say, would you like to come over and help us? It seems like God is moving on the hearts of the Welsh churches and the American churches to want to partner together. May God make a vision that reaches across this land in an impactful, God-ordained way. And so since then, one part of being old and grey and being in ministry for 35 years is you have a lot of contacts in there. So more than 3,000 contacts in there. American churches, pastors who I went to seminary with, missionaries that I've been on the field with. And then, of course, Welsh church pastors and Welsh leaders. I've lived there for 22 years. So since then, 9 county-wide partnerships have formed. A county is an area. You've heard of the word county. So there are 22 counties. Wales is split into 22 counties across the nation. And so since then, 9 county partnerships have formed, with 2 more on the way. There'll be 2 more by the middle of 2023. There should be 11 partnerships formed over that time. More than 200 interns. We'll be talking to young people today. Some of you guys have children, grandchildren eligible for this, 18 through 25. More than 200 interns coming to Wales, partnering with the churches, working in the churches, being educated in the churches, having a great time. Their lives are changing. But also missionaries coming, 27 through about 50. We have a special missionary program. We even have a program for the 50-pluses, so there's no one safe. No one's safe. We just had a 58-year-old former police officer come over for a year working as a community worker in the churches, did the most fantastic job. And when we also bring over people like Craig to come do teaching, and we also do spiritual heritage tours for people who want to travel Wales, but also learn about the missions that we have. So these partnerships are very integral to us. And what it's led to over years, actually, I know the pastor that Craig used to work for as a youth minister. He's a partner. He's called Stephen Lowry of North Fort Worth Baptist Church. Craig was in some of those first ever meetings, weren't you? And so as the years have gone by, and he's now pastor of this church, we've been talking. And in May, Craig came over with Micah and with Greg, and they met some Welsh churches that are interested in partnership. And I think I would want to ask you, how did you find it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, don't you love his accent? Doesn't he just feel smarter? When we had the opportunity to go to Wales, we didn't know what exactly we were walking into. I'd never been to Europe. I'd been to Asia and Indonesia. But when we stepped off the plane, there was almost a sense that God was doing something there that we needed to be a part of. And our experience, and Micah would probably, and Greg would both say probably, the culture was similar enough that at times you forgot you were on the other side of the world. But then you walk up and you see a building that's 1,600 years old, and all of a sudden you're reminded, oh yeah, this place has roots. But when we met with the churches, we met with two churches, Gateway Church and City Church.
Yeah.
Is that right? What we found were people that loved Jesus just like we do. They were trying to reach their city just like we are. And they really wanted to know, what they really wanted and needed was someone to come alongside them, to just walk with them as they reached their city. And so as we prayed about, okay, where would God have us to partner, the church that we ended up saying this is the church that we would want to partner with, they shared similar values to us as a church. They had a heart like we do for reaching young people, for wanting to reach their community. And they're a church that wants to make roots in that city, just like Park Hill. I think we're a church that wants to be rooted here. And so my experience walking away was these are a people that aren't that much different than us, but they live in a context that is very different than ours, just in the way that their culture approaches Jesus and things of religion. Maybe Rob can speak to that a little bit. But they are working in really a post-Christian culture where Jesus is just a fairy tale. It's just, you do religion, okay, that's fine. You do that maybe because your family does it and it's good for you, but there's really no truth behind it. It's just part of the air that some people breathe. And for most people, it's not they hate Christianity, it's that it's just irrelevant. It's just not a part of their life. So what we saw were some people that were really seeking the Lord and having to rely on Him day in, day out to make a difference. And so we were really impacted by that. So with Missional Links, tell us a little bit about how the partnerships work and kind of what's happening now with Missional Links.
That's it. To just kind of follow on from what Craig's saying there, here's a good way to look at mission in Wales. Culturally, you can buy a McDonald's anywhere. They live in houses, they get degrees, they speak English, and they actually like Americans, right? Look, you know the Brits and the Americans are good friends, but there's some parts of the world that don't like us, right? Yeah, it's difficult to go there. They don't like us. They actually like you. But here's the problem. Reliable Evangelical Alliance statistics, and I'm on the board of Evangelical Alliance, which is like the umbrella board. It's a bit like the Southern Baptist Convention, so I'm on that board. We have a statistics team, and John Evans, the leader of that, worked for the government for 35 years. This is an experienced statistician. And so around 8 years ago, a very extensive survey was done to try to find the extent of evangelicalism in Wales. Here's what they found. there are less than 60,000 evangelicals in the whole of Wales. That's less than 2% of Wales are evangelical Christians. How about this one, Craig? Between the ages of 15 and 25, it's less than 1% Christians like you and I. And so while you have a culture that you can, if you like, it's a soft landing culturally, because, you're not going to just be, met with mud huts and although I'm all for mission, in Africa and China and Asia, I'm all for that. You're not going to be met with that. You're going to be met with a Western culture. But imagine being in a room as an 18 through 25-year-old where there's 100 people and it's just you. You've got a choice to make then, haven't you? Let the darkness overcome you, or say, no, I've got the light of Christ in me, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to influence those people around me. So when we're talking about interns and missionaries now, we're talking about a proper mission field where you can come and be a missionary, and you've got to be brave and strong and courageous. And Missional Link Wales supports you all the way. And when you come over for a week, say, and you come and do a mission, get ready. They'll like talking to you, but they'll have no clue about your Christianity. You've got to really be willing to share. So there's that. I think in terms of your partnership with Gateway, and I think that's what you're asking, they couldn't be, I'm here to tell you, on behalf of them, they couldn't be more excited about a partnership with Park Hill. They've been looking for one for quite a while. And in Gateway Church, which is your Welsh partner, you have a church that has influence across its county. They already do a schools work where they're partnering with 8 other churches. And so before long, you're going to find that your partnership, as it grows, is going to work across the county, which is just what we want to see. We'd love to see in years to come that your partnership might be like the Bridgend County, where 19 Welsh churches partner with First West Louisiana across the county. They send interns every single year. They really have an incredible influence. When they come for 1 week, they reach 14,000 people. You say, how do they do that when they only bring about 20 people? Because the Welsh churches have so grasped it that they provide more than 240 volunteers for the week. In fact, that mission isn't an American mission. It's a Welsh mission that American churches support, and that's mission, where the indigenous people lead. And so we'd love to see your church grow in the way that you want it to grow, and they want it to grow.
So, which is a great segue, I guess, to the next thing I want to talk about. So, as I was growing up, we talked a lot about mission. We sent mission money, we sent missionaries, but we also took mission trips.
Yes.
Right? And so I've been on trips to Haiti, I've been on trips to Belize. Sure. We've done these short-term mission trips. Tell us why a week in Wales, that mission, what would look different about the lead up to it, what kind of trip it would be, as opposed to maybe trips that we may have participated in the past?
Firstly, you're entering into a partnership. We don't use that word just loosely. You're entering into a partnership. The Welsh church is not interested in you coming once every 5 years. The Welsh church isn't interested. They know this. They've been honest with Craig. They've been honest with Park Hill. These churches, and I don't want to see this either. We're not looking to become another country that you went to 10 years ago. What we're looking for is a proper relationship where you pray for those Welsh churches and that county that you're involved in, and you go. And so the way that we set up every mission is always about what the Welsh churches want. So Missional Link Wales works with them, and they say, look, we want to set up a mission where we have some great contacts in schools. We need 4 primary school teachers. We have some great contacts in the high schools. We want 4 high school teachers. We've got some great music ministry going. Send us a musician. And some sports stuff. So send us a sports person. And we got some kind of construction that needs to be done. Send us some construction people. Send us some apologists. Send us some people who can do things on the street. And then we listen to them. And then I come to Craig and I say, this is what your partner wants. And thereby, we match the skills of the American church with the needs of the Welsh church. So what that means is this. the Welsh church feels listened to because they're leading. It also gives them the responsibility to get the volunteers to lead that. But any American that comes over is being asked for, and they're going to use the gifts that they have because it's actually been asked for. No one comes and says, I just twiddled my thumbs all week. I didn't do anything. No, you've been directly asked for. And so what happens is the American missionary, the person that comes on the trip, goes away going, God gave me this gift and I've just been able to use it this week. Praise the Lord. I've been used in such a way that deeply appeals to the skills that I've been given. Do you see the difference? We're not trying to en masse get Americans over. It's not like anybody go over and we'll work it out as we go. Instead, it's strategic. And everybody that comes knows that they've done something on purpose.
So in a few minutes, we're going to give you a chance to ask some questions, and so be thinking about those. But tell us about Gateway. Tell us about the church that we're partnering with.
Yes. You know, Craig spent some extended hours with Gateway. Gateway is a proper community church. Listen, we're talking now about a church of 50, by the way, which is a decent size in Wales. But we're talking about a solid leadership. Craig has met the leaders who are on the game. In other words, they're not waiting for you to come to be involved in mission. They're at it. What you're coming to do is to enhance it and catalyze it and support it and enthuse it. But they're already about mission. They already have many programs. They love youth. They love interns. They've had interns for the past 8 years. They love to have young people come over and work for the week. They know how to treat the young person. They know how to love the young person. They know how to kind of get the young person involved in mission. And they know how to get people who come over involved in mission because they already do it. These missions are, if you like, their uniqueness is not you coming to do what you do. It's you coming to join in what they're already doing. So people talk about follow-up. How about the follow-up? Well, you're not doing anything different to what they did the week before you came. And the week after, they'll be doing it again. So follow-up isn't a problem. Do you see? Where follow-up is a problem is when an American group come in and do something that's so foreign to the culture that they bring their big thing in, and then it's like people came to the Lord as a result of the influence of the Americans. So the Welsh churches struggle to follow that up because it's out of context. No, you'll be working inside their context. And that's what you learn after 35 years as a missionary with gray hair. That's how it works. Sometimes we have to do things smaller and in step with the indigenous people in order to get the effectiveness that we're looking for.
So one thing that stands out to me is we're not talking about going and doing. What we're really talking about is friendship on mission.
Yes. Yep.
And I think that's the difference is, yeah, we could go and we could do work anywhere, and we do. But if we want lasting, biblical, godly friendship, that's what we're striving for, is a partnership that's more than, whereas we would attend one another's funerals,
yes,
whenever that time came. And it's a relationship of churches and not just working together.
When you have that, of course, and this is what we nurture, Missional Links Wales walks with the partnership the whole time. So we don't just put you together, American church, Welsh church, bye, it's been good, we're going to set up another. We walk with the partnership all the way through. You see, this is a local church. You do local church things. The Welsh churches are local churches that do local church things, but you want to fulfill the Great Commission, don't you? You want to fulfill Acts 1:8. And so Missional Links Wales is the glue that keeps you together all the way through. And out of friendship, that's a great word, out of friendship comes imagination. Imagination. So if I gave you a quickie, a request from the Vale of Glamorgan, which is a county, their pastors are all gardeners. They love gardening. And so when we first began to design mission with Craig's old church, we were saying, come on, let's design a mission and let's make it work. Now, I don't know whether you ever watch TV. Is there a TV program in the US where somebody's got a horrible garden, but they've also got a horrible life? And then experts go into the garden and they make it beautiful and everybody cries, gives everybody a hug. and we all kind of go, oh, what a nice TV program. Do you have one? Raise your hand if you have one of those. Or you like house makeovers, yeah? All right, so we have he's the housewife's sweetheart. He's called Alan Titchmarsh. All of the wives love him and all of the men respect him. He's that kind of guy, And they find people who are having a horrible, difficult life, and they go and transform their garden, and it's all wonderful. But these guys said, we could use that missionally. If we had someone who was a gardener, who could come over, who was winsome, we could find a garden like that. And the houses are so close together that everybody in the community are going, what's going on over there? What? Are they getting their garden done? How about our garden? How does this work? And before long, you could get that little street and that community talking. Barbecue at the end of the week. Everybody's invited. Gospel shared. People come to the Lord. I said, one problem. Where am I going to find a gardener? What's the likelihood of that? So in all of the other things that I was saying when I was requesting, I said, we want sports people, we want teachers, we want musicians and everything, and we need a gardener. And the pastor said, we have the head groundsman at Southwestern Seminary, and he's a real disciple maker. He'll bring a team. See, that's what God does. That's what God does. Inside this church is all that's needed to have a special partnership in the county of Caerphilly. We just don't know it yet. Some of the requests that they're going to make, you're going to say, God had to be in that. What a wild request, but we can fulfill it. That's what happens when friendships happen that God ordains and that God works with. And so that's the kind of thing that will happen. When friendship happens, imagination for mission happens, and that's what we want to form.
So I want to talk a little bit about the future of our partnership together, but I want to give you a chance to ask some questions. So does anyone have a question for Rob, or you can just slip your hand up and I'll repeat it so everybody can hear.
I don't bite. Don't be shy.
Yeah. Larry?
I'm Larry Boggs.
Hello, Larry.
I was just wondering about primary schools. How long does your school go? Is it a year school, 9 months?
That's right. Academic year, start early September, finish the middle of July.
So you had talked about maybe if they need primary needs, what kind of needs would they need in the school?
Well, I'm going to excite you now. Having lived here, remember 11 years, we have something that you don't have. Believe me, I tried to get into your schools to share the Christian message, but as you know, your schools are kind of no religion zones. But if I told you by law, every primary school and every senior school has to teach religious education. But they have to teach Christianity as an equal to any other religion. So there you have this floundering RE teacher, who's usually not a Christian, who has to teach Christianity. Have a guess who we bring in to do that? And that has been incredibly powerful. A North Fort Worth Baptist Church will bring in teachers, and between them, they'll touch 4,000 kids. And all they have to do is to fulfill the curriculum and say, on the learning outcomes for Christianity, it is, what is Christianity? Who was Jesus? What did he do? I think we can do that, right? And so the teachers stand up there and they share the Christian message, but as a teacher. And it's so powerful. Then we invite them to evening events. We present the gospel. We can lead them to the Lord. Schools ministry is a very powerful thing. Every partnership that we have uses schools ministry. Hope that helps.
It would be similar to us inviting, a dead religion, someone that knew a lot, to come and tell us about this thing they call Christianity. Can you believe people believed it?
Yeah.
And so it's almost an open door that way.
It is. But it needs to be taught as a teacher, and you need to fulfill their learning outcomes. But their learning outcomes is an outline to the gospel.
Great question. Somebody else? Don't be shy. Y'all aren't shy. Yes, Sharon?
Is it too early to talk about the Holiday Inn and the Ukraine? Is that too early?
Say that again.
The Holiday Inn and the Ukraine, the refugees, is it too early to share that? You shared that with us.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, but thank you for that. Oh, yes.
Kelly?
On average, how many trips does the church do a year?
The trips that it's dependent. It's a relationship. So, how many times do you see your parents? Well, you talk to your parents and you go visit them as you discussed. So, we have one that tries to come at least twice a year. We've had one that's come 4 times a year. We have others that come once a year, and then send an intern throughout the year. What we try to have is a presence for the full 11 months. So if possible, if we can get an intern on the ground, either from this church or through the university contacts that we have, you then have an American voice, consistent. And then when the 1-week mission happens, there's this consistency of American presence, which we like to see.
Because they think we're all from Texas, right? That's essentially how it works.
Yeah, it is.
We're all
weird.
cowboys.
Yeah, it is weird.
So bring your hats. So the question was about an internship and how
Yes.
long it lasts.
Okay, so internships, we do 11 months is our favorite, the academic year. That way, that young person can really develop. You know, they've got their feet under the table, the churches can invest in them, they can get their teeth into ministries, and they can do our education. It's a head, hands, heart process, okay? So they learn with their head, they do an accredited British leadership qualification. They practice with their hands, they do 35 hours of mission based on their skills and the needs of the church. So we do some deep profiling on the intern to help them to know who they are, to know what their skills are, so they can bring those to bear in the internship. And then we have one-to-one coaching, heart, head, learn with your head, training, education, practice with the hands, 35 hours of mission, but then reflect with your heart. So I'm a professionally certified coach. Our organization is professionally certified by the International Coach Federation. And so therefore, all of our interns have coaching and mentoring every single week, where they reflect on what they're learning with their head and what they're doing with their hands. So they're constantly in this action reflection cycle. You need 11 months to do that. And at minimum, you need 7 months. So sometimes students that are studying at university take the semester from January through June. They get credit sometimes from their university, and they do 7 months. But I'm here to tell you that's my second favorite. The first favorite is 11 months, because that will give the greatest impact on that young person's life.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, that also all on social media. The moment that you go on social media, you'll see everything that's going on. That's a great question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say until you've done your first mission, I wouldn't interact with Gateway yet. So do the first mission first before you interact with them, but you can interact with us all the way up to that. So that's quite important. Don't interact with Gateway yet, because you haven't started your first mission.
And the reason for that, and he shared with me, the Welsh, while they're very friendly, it takes a minute to get into their into their relationship circle. So we want to do
They're
everything.
shy people.
We want to do everything as appropriately
That's
as
right.
possible.
That's
so to develop those relationships.
What we're in now, we're in that phase of preparing for that first mission, setting the date and all that. After that first mission's happened, that kind of thing can happen. Right now, that would be a bit premature. But you can interact with us right away. So get on Missional Links Wales, social media, and kind of and all of that, and you'll hear everything that's going on.
Anyone else? Any of our students have any questions? Put you on the spot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Did you ever get your cars fixed?
I knew Micah was going to ask that. We try to be friendly, but in the end, I actually tried to kill all three of the people that came over by trapping them in the door. You know, I have an estate car, and it kept coming down on them. They put their bags in, and it had come down on the back of their head, and I was so embarrassed. And I still haven't got it fixed because it costs too much. It's really expensive. So I have to hold it up. Thank you, Micah. I appreciate that.
And I haven't threatened your life one time the whole time you've been here.
Very safe here.
Yeah. Any other questions? Just burning a hole in your mind, and you just need to ask.
You mentioned how the cultures are really similar. How are they different?
Oh, there's a lot of differences, actually. Obviously, some of the words, I mean, we can go on forever, can't we? Like aluminum as opposed to aluminium, tomato instead of tomato. There's language. So there's language, definitely. There's also the ways that you talk about Christianity, the way that you express your Christianity is sometimes slightly different. And we'll have to work with that, by the way. We'll have to work with your language. We'll give you plenty of training on that. That's no problem. I think, do you know what I miss about living in the US? Your can-do attitude. Don't lose that. Come with your can-do attitude and make them change. They could do with more of that can-do attitude that the American naturally expresses, with the enthusiasm for Jesus, their enthusiasm for life and belief in their own ability and the abilities of God, So that's a difference. There's a bit pessimistic, more pessimistic than you guys would be. The food is nowhere near as good, but it's okay. I don't know what you thought, but we tried to feed them.
If you like baked beans for breakfast, you're in the right spot.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is you'll see the darkness very quickly. And you've got to make a choice. Will I shy away, or will I stand for Jesus? That's what missionary work is all about. Making the choice to stand for Jesus, to know who you are in Christ, and bring that to bear on the culture of where you are. That's the biggest difference. A huge darkness. Let me say it again. How old are you? I shouldn't ask a lady her age. I'm going to assume that you're about 25. So if you are between 18 and 25, in a room of 100, I'm going to say it again, you're the only Christian. That's a big difference. That's a big difference. And so you've got to come with that enthusiasm to say, I've made my mind up. I'm standing for Jesus. So that's going to be a difference. But that's why you're coming. That's why we want you with us.
So Rob's part of his story, and he may share a little bit more later, but you grew up thinking you were a Christian.
Yeah.
Because everyone's a Christian,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And when your now wife introduced Christ to you, it became realized, no, this is a personal relationship.
That's right.
Most people see themselves as, oh, I'm Christian, but it's certainly not a personal relationship.
Although in the last 15 years, they feel that more and more and more, in swathes actually, are feeling much more confident to say, I don't believe in God. And the idea of secular materialism is becoming something that people study more. They actually are identifying with that, and so they'll say, I'm secular, or I'm atheist. More do that. Now, there are people like me, who, when I would be growing up and there was a form to fill, religion, excuse me, mother, what religion am I? Oh, just put Church of England. Do you see? So there's still a little bit of that, but there's a lot more now that will write in the box secular or non-believer, because they've become more confident to speak against the church. In fact, that's happened in swathe. And anybody under 40 is very confident to say, I don't believe in God. And so there is that journey to go on.
Yes, Ms. Barber.
Yeah. Heavily secular, so nothing. But Islam's growing. I would say that would be and general spirituality. I don't believe in God, but I'm a spiritual person. You'll hear that quite a lot.
Yeah, Tim.
What is this county that you're going to partner with? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You're going to see some pictures of Wales, and this would be, do you know no one's partnered in Pembrokeshire yet, where the Welsh go on holiday? It's going to be really, really interesting when people go there, and then they go to Newport, where you went, and it's like, I think I'll come here. So Caerphilly is near to Cardiff, which is near to the city, but it's outside of Cardiff, so you have hills all around you, very, very green, beautiful valleys, and an absolutely incredible castle, one of the largest castles in the whole of Wales. They're all ruins, but one of the largest castles in the whole of Wales, and it's a very famous kind of castle county, Caerphilly. And it's on the whole a working class county.
A lot of people from there will travel into Cardiff
To work.
So it's a kind of a travel county. It's interesting with the rolling hills, the way the houses run, they just kind of follow the valley lines just through the hills. It's really interesting.
You'll notice everyone living very close together. You'll feel a little claustrophobic. I'm staying with Craig, and this land, it's just so refreshing. In Wales, everybody's very close together. You'll notice that. You'll feel coffee shops are tiny. Every places that you go will feel tiny to you.
So some of y'all may remember the Welsh revivals that happened in the early part of the 19th century or the 20th century.
Yeah.
But so if all that happened, and maybe you're going to share some of that this morning, maybe
yeah.
you can
Yeah.
pivot if
I
this
will.
is a bad question. But
Yeah.
do you want to talk about some of that now, or do you want to wait till?
I mean, I'll wait for most of it, in the sermon, but a lot has changed since 1904. A lot has changed. It's very sad. It's very sad. So I'll share more of that, in the message.
We have about 10 minutes left. Is there any other kind of questions that you guys have about internship? Yeah.
As the church looks to get started on the partnership, what are the things that you view would make this partnership successful over the next 5 years, 10
Yeah.
years that we need to know now?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think the biggest thing is my manager at Missional Link Wales, his name is Jamie. He's a very on it person, dots I's, crosses T's, and he's going to be contacting you guys quite soon to begin to work out what that first mission looks like. And I think what you need to know is that the first mission is non-obligation. And so everyone's allowed, the American church and the Welsh church, to come together and have the first year of mission, shake hands and say, that was great, long-term partnership isn't for us. Now, how about if I told you that's never happened? But we want to give you that opportunity. We always want to give the American church and the Welsh church the opportunity to do it once and then learn that you're not to be together, okay? So that's the first thing to know. Prepare knowing that the pressure isn't there. I think begin to pray. I think, you've mentioned that there. Begin to pray for your partnership. Begin to pray for, the right attitudes and the right people. And I think it's, another thing I think would be to understand that when you go on mission, then you've got to understand that you're going as a guest. And that guest attitude has to be throughout everything that you do. To know that now, all of the partnerships that do well have grasped through their leaders that you go as a guest. You're going to see things that don't jibe with your Christianity with the Christians. You're going to see the pastor, maybe, if you're invited to dinner, drink a glass of wine. That doesn't mean he's a backslider. That's part of the culture. You're going to see various things that don't jibe with you culturally as a Christian, but they cover the main tenets. Maybe they're more faithful in some things than you are. So what's important is to know you're a guest and to know that you're going to hit things culturally that are not exactly the same as you, and to still be able to say, listen, we're partnering around the gospel. This doesn't mean that they're weak Christians. It just means they're different in some ways. That's a good question. The Welsh language is, it's geographic often. So if we were in the northeast, you're miles away from the northeast. You're in the south. In the northeast, it's spoken on the streets. And it's the general language that are there. But that's concentrated. There's a spattering of the Welsh language everywhere. And so it's very likely that when you come on mission, you're going to meet somebody in the church that speaks Welsh. But a lot of it is conversational, So I can pronounce things. I can sound clever, but I can't. I wouldn't say I speak it. So it's heavily English. And where you're going, everyone will speak in English, and English will be the language.
It's a taste of Welsh.
No. That was a smoke screen. I'm really not that good. Yes.
Great.
Sir. Yeah. 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 Well, the good news is that we're an affiliated university. So we're affiliated with Formation College, which is a Bible college, and Newman University, which is linked to Birmingham University, where my father used to work. So we're an affiliative university. And so these interns that come do university level courses. But there is 3 good universities: Cardiff University, Cardiff Metropolitan University, and Newport University within 30 minutes of where our office is.
Yeah. I do want to mention, and I've said it before, but so Washita has entered into partnership with you all as well.
Yes.
And so being a local church that's close to that partnership, we're going to, I believe, be able to glean some of the benefits of that mutual partnership.
Yeah.
And so our vision, what we would love to see happen, is to send 2 interns every year for 5 years and have 10 interns. That's really our goal.
Wonderful.
And when we told Pete that, the leader of the church there, and he said, oh, so 10 a year is what you're going to, and we were like, well, I don't know about that.
They'd love 10 a year.
Yeah. But that's that's what we want to do. We want to be able to utilize where God has placed us here in a college town, where we have Henderson and we have Washita, and we have connections at the BCM at Henderson, and we have connections at OBU. We want to be able to send as many faithful young missionaries on the field to get experience, to get trained, and then maybe they come back and they help pastor churches. Maybe they go enter the workforce. Maybe they continue on to overseas missions somewhere else. Maybe they join the IMB. Maybe who knows? But they're going to get some solid training as they walk through this process.
And hot off the press, you actually have an intern in your county. He arrived last week. We only have 1 intern this year, and we've placed him in your county. His name is Sam, and he's come through a contact, a former intern. He's the cousin of a former intern who was placed with Gateway, and so he wanted to go to Gateway. So you have an intern through our college contacts and our intern contacts. Like I say, he arrived last week. So that's good.
One last question that I have for you, Rob, and is, so we're so grateful that Missional Links has helped us to partner with Gateway and love getting to know Gateway, but why is Missional Links still necessary now that we have a partnership? Why do we need to continue to have a relationship with you?
Yeah, well...
Other than the fact that you're just a great guy.
Well, 22 years ago, I arrived in Wales, and I started to do things like this, and... I just, you're taught by the IMB, catalyze yourself, spread yourself thin, get in, get out, get in, get out, And I actually tried to partner like that, bringing an American, I remember doing it. I bought a really healthy American church with what I thought was a very healthy Welsh church, brought them together, and we had similar to what you did, and we partnered them together, and I said, have a great partnership. But then, of course, like I mentioned, the pressures of being local churches, because you guys have a local area to reach and a regional area. You guys have got to fulfill your role as a local church in this area, and then their pressures of doing that meant that they were forgetting the dates, and we can't do it this year, and we can't do it this year, and we can't remember, we don't have anyone to send as an intern. And because it wasn't on your minds, and there wasn't another entity helping you to do that mission, but also fulfill your roles as a local church, they were lasting 1 year, 2 years, maximum 3 years, and then they were fizzling out. And so we made a big judgment, and that was to go full-time at this. Full-time at partnering, instead of it being something little that I did, full-time at partnering American churches with Welsh churches. And now we're seeing 13 years. 4 of them are 9 years. Long-term partnerships. And of course, the longer you partner, the more impact you have. And so Missional Links Wales has taken that decision to go full-time at being the glue that keeps the American side and the Welsh churches together. You're welcome. And what it means is your partnership can have a life while you're doing local church.
The other piece that they bring is the training and caring for and making sure the interns are well taken care of. So Jamie, who's his right-hand man, is going to be overseeing housing, making sure the housing is taken care of, making sure they're being trained and equipped, so that even the local church, if they get focused on local church things, the interns are still taken care of. They're safe, which really, anytime we're sending people, we want to send people into an environment, especially our young people, we want to know there's people there that have their best interest in mind every step along the way. And I have full confidence that that's what Missional Links
We
will do.
love our interns. How about if I told you that in 22 years, we've only ever lost one intern that didn't go full term? You think about how many things young people start and then, it lasts a month or 2 months, or one in 22 years that didn't go full term, and we would have kept that person. We would have kept that person. It was a political situation on the American side. One in 22 years. That should tell you something about the care, the love, and the robust nature of the internships and the way that we look after them and care for them.
I'm laughing because I thought you were going to say you only lost one intern, that they got lost in Wales.
Yeah, got
and
lost.
So we don't
Yeah,
know where
never
they're
to
at.
be found again.
They're still wandering the countryside. We will find them. That's our mission, is to find this lost intern. All right, so that pretty much ends our time together. So you're going to get to hear from Rob again in the service. He's going to be delivering the message, as well as I'm going to interview him a little bit. Some of the stuff that you've already heard, but a little bit more, especially during the sermon. Also, if you're here and you are in that 18 to 25 window and you are interested in knowing more about what an internship could look like, we're going to have a luncheon right after the morning service. It'll be in the fellowship hall. Lunch will be provided. And Rob's just going to be talking about internships and what it could look like, how we could start that journey, have a conversation. You're not going to be signing up for anything today. The only thing that's going to happen is Rob might get your email and just begin a conversation about what it could look like. So we're obviously not trying to sell you anything, but we would love to support you and help send you.
And that would be open to anyone who's a junior at high school upwards. We can begin that conversation. Sometimes the conversation is 1, 2, or 3 years before the person comes. So they feel very, very kind of comfortable with us. Also, if you're a parent or you're a grandparent and you've been stirred this morning and you have a young person, somebody on your mind, it's maybe someone close to you, and you want to come and hear about it so that you can tell them, then you're welcome as well.
All right, well, that'll conclude our time. We'll just dismiss, and we'll let everybody kind of filter in for the service this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Rob will be kind of around front if you want to come talk to him for a minute, and then we'll get started in worship in about 15 minutes. Thank you all so much for being in here this morning.
God bless.